Hi, everybody. I hope you are all well. It's a really gloomy, horrible day today here in the south of England. For the past 2 days, we have had glorious weather, 24 degrees, that's centigrade, obviously not Fahrenheit. Been absolutely beautiful. Today, it's 16 degrees maximum. It is really quite cool. It's cloudy, it's raining, it's England, so there you go. So what have I been up to this week? Working as usual. It was bank holiday on Friday, so it's been a 3-day weekend, even though I think my body was thinking that today was Monday because I'd had 2 days off, and it's like, right, get up. So I was up really early, but that was actually really good because it meant I managed to finish Rivers of London, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, but I just wanted to, before I start on that, talk about something I've watched it was Sunday evening, and then, Sunday after I'd filmed and uploaded my videos, and then the remainder on the Monday. I watched this series Hollywood on Netflix because this week for theatre stuff, I haven't been all that impressed, I'm afraid, for online, streaming stuff. When I say not impressed, I mean just not interested should be the better term, because there was Anthony and Cleopatra from National Theatre, and then there was the Two Gentlemen of Verona, sorry. Title just went completely out of my head then. And those are two Shakespeare plays that I'm not really interested in. I was like, okay. And then Andrew Lloyd Webber, for his streaming for his channel during coronavirus, the channel is The Show Must Go On, was the Jeeves musical that he did. And I have absolutely no interest in that. I really like the Jeeves stories and such, but it's one of his musicals that I'm just like, you made a musical of that? It just, really? I don't have an interest in. So instead I turned to Netflix, and Netflix released the limited series Hollywood on the 1st of May. I'll put a link to the trailer in the description. And I absolutely fell head over heels in love with it. You guys know from other videos how much I love classic cinema. I love the time period in which it is set, which is the 1940s. That time in Hollywood was absolutely amazing because it was the golden age of cinema. And it takes the concept of, what if cinema, or Hollywood, should I say, was more progressive then, what that impact would be. So it's set in a fictional film studio called Ace Films, and follows a variety of people, actors, directors, writers, producers, agents, and some of these characters were real life people with fictionalized stories, obviously to go with the drama and everything what this is about, and some of them are completely fictional. And I absolutely fell in love with it. I just, as soon as I saw the trailer, I was like, oh yes, this is me. And then I thought, okay, I'll give it a go and see how I feel, because there's always that thing that the trailer could look absolutely amazing and it turns out the final thing is just rubbish. But I absolutely loved it, and I binge watched 5 of the episodes on that Sunday, and then I watched the remaining 2 episodes on the Monday, and by the end of it I was crying my eyes out. I just wanted to watch it again and again and again, and luckily being on Netflix I can watch it as many times as I like. So the one thing that I do recommend to you all this week is to go and watch Hollywood on Netflix, and as I said, I'll put the trailer in the description below. Okay, so that's that done. So let's talk about Rivers of London by Ben Aaronovitch. I can pronounce his name this week because it's later in the day and I didn't film this at a ridiculous hour like I did last week, and I couldn't pronounce half people's names. I've waited until lunchtime because I woke up this morning, I had about 100 pages of this left, and I was like, right, I'm going to read a little bit, get ready for the day, and then I'll read the rest. That didn't happen. I ended up finishing the book, looking at the clock and going, oh, it's 11 o'clock in the morning and I have yet to get ready for the day. So my day has turned into a pyjama kind of duvet-esque day because of this book. So let's start talking about it. So Rivers of London is set in London, and it follows a guy called Peter Grant, and he is a policeman. When you start with the police, you have this like 2-year probation period, and then after that you get assigned to various departments. He is absolutely desperate to be on the murder squad. That's the area of work that he's of policing he's always been interested. That's what led him to join the police force, etc. And he discovers that he's actually going to be assigned to basically paperwork, a desk job, which he's not happy about. And his really good friend Leslie, who is so brilliant, she has got the gig to go to the murder squad. And the thing about Peter is that he very much likes to learn things about the areas where he is. So when he's like standing guard at a crime scene or whatever he's doing, he tends to wander off and learn about the architecture of the buildings and stuff like this because it fascinates him. And so thus they're like, yeah, we think that you're better suited to desk work. But one day he is guarding a murder scene along with Leslie, and a witness appears and he takes a statement and such. But then he realizes that the witness is actually a ghost, a guy who's been dead for like 100 years. And in telling this story, he comes to discover that there is a part of the London Police Constabulary that deals with the supernatural. And this leads him on this great story and trying to solve the mystery of this murder scene. And so it opens up this new doorway into our world. And when I was talking to my sister about this over Messenger over the past week that I've been reading, the majority I've read it over the past 2 days, but when I've been reading it, I've been saying to her, it's kind of like Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. You know how much I love Neil Gaiman, that book. And if you haven't read that book, please go out and get a copy, download it on your Kindle, listen to the audio book, whatever you like to do. Please go for that story. That is an amazing story. So it's kind of a combination of Neil Gaiman's Neverwhere with Cassandra Clare's Shadowhunters in regards to how this is happening around us in the real world, obviously in London. And then you kind of have these Harry Potter-esque things in there, like understandings between our world and this magical unit, supernatural unit. There's actually a joke in it about the Ministry of Magic, because there is a section of government and such who know about these supernatural things that associate with the police and all of the different various other responders, like hospitals, ambulances, fire brigades. They all know about it. It's just kind of like this secret, this underlying secret that runs through the city of London that only a certain group of people know about. And now Peter is one of them. And yeah, so it's all about him trying to find out who this person is that was murdered, why they were murdered, and leads on throughout the story. And and he becomes the junior to this really, really great officer called Nightingale, and he lives in this building that is specifically built for those in this unit of the London Constabulary called the Follies. And so that's, if you've read Cassandra Clare, you know how there is the Institute, which is slap bang in the middle of New York, where only those who are a part of it can see the building, can gain access, can talk about anything. This, which is exactly like the Follies in this. But what I loved also was that the Follies was created by Sir Isaac Newton. So there's loads of science that just breeze through this, along with fantasy and along with true police procedures and units. And I absolutely loved that. It took a crime story, put a spin on it, made it witty, made it clever, made it fun, still kept it dark, and then it just left me wanting more. And I absolutely loved it. It was so like Neil Gaiman's writing. I fell for it completely. And just to give you an idea of the lighter side of writing, I want to do 2 readings for this. One where it's the darker, and one where it's the lighter. But I need to do the lighter one first, which is right near the end of the book, for you to understand something that gets referred to in the darker, earlier part of the book. Okay, so this isn't spoilers. This is just to understand connections of people. And this is Peter, and he's talking to Beverly Brooke. Beverly Brooke, I love her. I can't tell you much about her because you need to learn that through the course of reading the book yourself. So I'm not going to go there because of spoilers, but this is after they've done something and she's rather horrified by it because she's going to get in trouble. And so here we go. Just shut up and think warm thoughts, she said, as if that was hard, with her breast brushing up against my side. So you burst a few pipes, I said. How much trouble can you be in? They were fire hydrants I messed with, which means the cult of Neptune is going to be pissed, she said. The cult of Neptunes? The London Fire Brigade, she said. The London Fire Brigade are worshippers of the god of Neptune? Not officially, no, she said, but, you know, sailors, Neptune is a natural fit. The Fire Brigade are sailors? Not now, she said, but in the old days when they were looking for disciplined guys who knew about water, ropes, ladders, and didn't freak out at altitude. On the other hand, you had a lot of sailors looking for a nice steady career on dry land. Marriage made in heaven. Still, Neptune, I said, Roman god of the sea. Beverly laid her head on my shoulder. Her hair was wet, but I wasn't complaining. Sailors are superstitious, she said. Even the religious ones know you have to have a little respect for the king of the deeps. Have you met Neptune? Oh, don't be silly, she said. There's no such person. Anyway, I feel bad about the hydrants, but it's Thames water I feel bad about the hydrants, but it's Thames water that I'm worried about. Oh, don't tell me, I said. Worshippers of Dread Sadu. I don't think they're very religious at all, but you don't piss off the people who can release raw sewage into your headwaters, she said. So, you know, so you understand how there's a whole backstory, a whole history about the fire brigade, firefighters, that how they came so prominent, and the links to the spiritual undertone of the city. And then it spins it going, well, I'm not going to piss off the people who could pump raw sewage into my part of London. Are you kidding me? You know, so it's funny, it's quirky, but then he can be really, really quite dark. And so here is the darkness, and it kind of shows you the links with the fire brigade, because as I said, they know about the follies, they know what they do and everything. And this is earlier in the book. Nightingale and Peter have gone to a house. Peter's got no clue why they're there. Before they went there, they met a man called Frank who gave them some grenades, and now they're at the house. So Peter has no clue what the hell is going on. He's just been told to come along and shut up. So they look like tramps. Old-fashioned tramps, the kind that dressed up in ragged layers of clothes and growled at you from the shadows. The sensation of cold intensified as Nightingale and I got closer. They looked as if they were asleep, but there was no breathing sounds and none of the fug a sleeping human being would produce in a confined space. Nightingale handed me a framed family photograph, obviously looting from the living room mantelpiece, and transferred his cane to his right hand. I need you to do 2 things, he said. I need you to confirm their identities and check them both for pulse. Can you do that? What are you going to be doing? I'm going to cover you, he said, in case they wake up. I considered this for a moment. Are they likely to wake up? It's happened before, said Nightingale. How often before? I asked. It gets more likely the longer that we're down here, said Nightingale. I crouched down and reached out gingerly and drew back the collar of the closest one's coat. I was careful not to touch the skin. It was the face of a middle-aged man, white and unnaturally smooth cheeks and pallid lips. I checked him against the photograph, and although the features were the same, he bore no true resemblance to the smiling father in the picture. I shifted round to get a look at the second body. This one was female, and her face matched that of the mother. Mercifully, Nightingale had chosen a photo without the children in it. I reached out to feel for a pulse and hesitated. "Nothing lives on those bodies," said Nightingale, "not even bacteria." I pressed my fingers against the male's neck. His skin was physically cool, and there was no pulse. The female was the same. I stood up and backed away. "Nothing," I said. "All right, back upstairs," said Nightingale. "Quickly now." I didn't run, but I wouldn't call what I did up those stairs casual either. Behind me, Nightingale came up backwards, his cane held out ready. "Get the grenades," he said. I took the grenades from the satchel. Nightingale took one and showed me what to do. My hand was shaking a little, and the pin proved harder to pull than I expected. I guess there's a safety feature on a grenade. Nightingale pulled the pin on his own grenade and gestured down to the basement stairs. "On the count of 3, he said, "and make sure it goes all the way down to the bottom." He counted, and after 3 we threw the grenades down the stairs, and I stupidly stood watching it bounce down to the bottom until Nightingale grabbed my arm and dragged me away. We hadn't even reached the front door when I heard a double thump beneath my feet. By the time we were out the house and into the front garden, white smoke was billowing out the basement. "White phosphorus," said Nightingale. A thin scream began from somewhere inside, not human, but close enough. "Did you hear that?" I asked Nightingale. "No," he said, "and neither did you." Concerned neighbours rushed out to see what was happening to their property values, but Nightingale showed them his warrant card. "Don't worry, we made sure no one was inside," he said. "Luckily, we were just passing, really." The first fire engine pulled up less than 3 minutes later, and we were hustled away from the house. The fire brigade recognised only 2 kinds of people at a fire: victims and obstacles, and if you don't want to be either, it's best to stay back. Frank Caffrey arrived on the scene and exchanged nods with Nightingale before striding over to the leading fireman to get briefed. Nightingale didn't have to explain how it would go down. Once the fire was out, Frank, as fire investigation officer, would examine the scene and declare that it was caused by something plausible and sanitize any evidence to the contrary. No doubt there was equally discreet arrangements for dealing with the remains of the bodies in the basement, and the whole thing would pass off as just another daytime house fire. Probably an electrical fault. Lucky no one was in there this time. It makes you think about getting a smoke detector, doesn't it? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how we deal with vampires in old London town. So that chapter in particular is so clever because you as Peter, you are just as Peter. You have absolutely no idea what is going on, and you're told to just go there, do as you're told, and shut up. And for him to then discover these people who he think are victims are actually vampires that he has to kill is quite shocking. But I love that. It takes the standard things that we know, kind of stereotypes, as it were, of supernatural creatures, kind of spins it on its head a bit, brings real life procedures to it, and then throws in this great wit and charm. And it is so Neil Gaiman. I cannot get my head around it. It's fabulous. I looked up Ben's works, and just FYI, I knew that this was the first book of a series, and I thought there was probably about 4 out. There's not. If you include novellas, there's something about 8 to 10. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So there's a lot more going on, and it ends with a sense of something else is coming, and I loved that. It kind of sent a little chill down your spine as it ended. But yeah, he's done lots of writing for TV and such previously, but this is his first novel, but he'd done a lot of writing before, and I think you can tell he understands structure, beginning, middle, end. He understands how to round characters out. You learnt quite a bit about Peter, but there's a lot that's been held back. I love the fact that he was just so open and honest. There's swearing, there's gore, there's even, this is a tiny spoiler, but it's not a massive spoiler, there is the horrific murder of a baby, and we witness it being thrown out of a window like 1 or 2 stories up in the building, and it dies. It's really hard. I wasn't expecting that at all, but it was like, freaking hell, where did that come from? But then he's talking about, real life messed up crap that happens, but it just so happened that this had a supernatural link to it. And I loved it. This was a perfect palate cleanser after Crime and Punishment. It is so well structured. It is so clever how he uses locations and rivers, obviously because it's the rivers of London, domestic family, just, structures, arguments within that family, and links them to London. I mean, it was just like, that is so clever. I really want to go out and buy the other books, but I can't until next year because of my challenge. And besides, with coronavirus going on, I can't go to the bookshop anyway. So yeah, I loved this undertone of supernatural and magic and learning and training and being an apprentice linked down, but for placing that, or should I say layering that on top of our real world so perfectly, and make it so dark yet so charming yet so funny, yet so epic. And the characters, I adore how he writes the female characters, particularly in this book. He doesn't hold back with their opinions. They completely go against the grain of how a lady should be. This is who they are. I love the fact that they're swearing and talking about sex and all this lot. It was just so good to have a realistic depiction of men and women in our modern society of all different ethnicities and such. I love the fact, and represented, and I love the fact that one of the characters is a Scotsman who called Walid, who in his 50s, because he's in his 50s, he's transferred to his religion to be Muslim, and Peter Grant meets him and he greets him using the phrase, it's forgive me, I cannot think of what the phrase is, the thing is off the top of my head. But Peter knows exactly how to greet him because of what he's learned through his job, and responds to it, and we get that back and forth, and you learn stuff about all of this architecture because it's from Peter's perspective and he loves to learn things. He tells you all stuff about architecture of buildings, various histories, various religions, the histories of sewer systems, just so much stuff. I think I've learned a lot of history about London just reading this book. It is so crazy. Everyone is so diverse, it is so open. I love it. It's so London. And I really want to carry on reading them. So would I read any more of Ben's books? Well, yes, I really want to carry on reading the rest of these books. Would I recommend this book? Yes. Would I read it again? Oh, hell yes. But I think what I would do is that because I'm got this challenge of not buying the book for a year, I buy the other books. But before I kick off reading the other books, I would go back to this one and reread it, just because of the gap in time. Might be a good idea. But yeah, if you like Neil Gaiman, Harry Potter, Shadowhunters, or mingle them all together, set it in modern London, and you've got the rivers of London. And and I hope you enjoy it. There's no adaptations of this at all, so I haven't got an adaptation or anything to recommend or not to recommend, as I've done that before, to you. So yeah, all I can say is enjoy. Have you read this book? I'd love to know what you think. Leave a comment in the comments box below, or give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, entirely up to you. I'll let you decide. And I will be back with my thoughts on the next book I'm reading, which is Perfume. And if you watch Hollywood, please let me know what you think as well. And forgive me again for absolutely butchering butchering that with Muslim greetings. I couldn't think what the phrase was off the top of my head. I apologise. But anyway, yeah, I will see you guys later. All right then, bye.